Welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. It's very quiet. I apologize. I don't know why that was like that. This is the Packernet Podcast, for those of you that don't know where you are right now. Hi. Nice to meet you. Good to have a thing there. All right. So I think we're going to do live again. Couple little notes here. Christian Wilkins was released by the Raiders 1 year after signing a 4-year, $110 million deal. Absolute insane. I always thought it was weird he got signed to so much. I didn't realize he was seen as such a superstar. Cool guy, real nice dude. Always thought he would be a great culture fit with the Green Bay Packers. A lot of people right now are thinking he should, come over here. The problem is he wasn't released just for funsies. He was released by the Raiders due to a dispute over his recovery plan for a broken foot he sustained in Week 5 of last season. The Raiders stated there was no clear path or plan for future return to play for Christian. I guess the team wanted him to do a second surgery. He refused to do a second surgery. Going forward with rehab, the team obviously feels like, yeah, you're just going to break your foot again. You're wasting everybody's time and our money and all that stuff. So the Raiders are currently trying to void his $35.25 million in remaining guaranteed money, and Wilkins has filed a grievance. I guess there is a world in which the Packers agree with his path forward, saying rehab is going to be fine. We could have Christian Wilkins playing for us this season, and that would be great. But I'm kind of just hung up on the fact that the Raiders aren't going to, unless they realized what I felt initially, which is, man, we massively overpaid this guy, and they see this as just a cheap way to get out of it. I mean, I'm sure they'd like to have him than not have him, but if they can get out of this bad contract, they're going to do it. And so they're using this as kind of a garbage pretense, in which case, yeah, go get him. Just real quick, keeping an eye on the NFC North. Again, yesterday, the Bears camp was seen as sloppy. Non-contact, no pads, open to the media at Hallis Hall, described as somewhat sloppy, particularly from the offense, catching head coach Ben Johnson's attention. So Ben Johnson is trying to come in with the same energy they had in Detroit, which is this big, angry hothead who accepts nothing but greatness. And he's running into a brick wall of, what's the opposite of greatness? And so, I don't know that it's going to be interesting to see if Ben Johnson can pull this off, because Ben Johnson wasn't hired to be a great culture guy necessarily. I think it was assumed because he comes from a great culture in Detroit, which is what it is. But that comes from their head coach, and their head coach is a tough guy and all that stuff. But he's also a player's guy that was seen crying in front of his players about how much he loves them and cares about them and all that kind of stuff. And he's a former player, and there's a lot more to it on top of it just being kind of innate with who he is. And so, his plea at the beginning was, it was tough, but also just hang in there. We're going to get there. And I'm just curious if Ben Johnson's coming in and is like, I'm going to treat these guys like the Lions when they were already there, and just scream and rant and rave, which again, there's going to be buy-in initially, but at what point does that turn into frustration? At what point do the coaching staff get frustrated and the players get frustrated with the coaching staff for maybe not quite bringing it down to their level enough and just running it at 10 and then just getting pissed that they're just not doing what they need to do? Because remember, and this is true with Justin Fields as well as Caleb last year, what did everybody end up doing? They ended up dumbing down the offense to the quarterback's level. And then everybody got mad at the offensive coordinator and the head coach for running this terrible scheme. It wasn't terrible. They're not bad schematically. They're just people trying to run the very few things that these quarterbacks are capable of doing. And yeah, it's boring and it's stupid and it doesn't look great and it doesn't work. But that's just kind of how it goes. Luther Burden's still out. He's day-to-day with his soft tissue injury. No major injuries took place yesterday. Got a note here, says, first-team offense, that would be Caleb, struggled significantly, marked by pre-snap penalties, false starts, botched snaps, huddle issues, and difficulties lining up, continuing problems from day one, without major corrective action noted in day 2. Caleb Williams had a sloppy 11-on-11 period, including falling down after evading pressure, contributing to the unit's out-of-sync execution rather than strong defensive play. I mean, maybe they'll be good. I don't know. Head coach Ben Johnson stressed zero tolerance for pre-snap mistakes, calling them out immediately and describing camp as an up-and-down process focusing on details and intensity in meetings. As for the Vikings, sounds like they did practice yesterday. It was day 2 for them as well, just like the Packers. The first public practice is actually set for Saturday, but there were a few select people that were in attendance to be able to report. JJ McCarthy displayed a mix of promise and inexperience, making several nice throws in 7-on-7 and 11-on-11 drills, including a standout bullet to Jordan Addison, but also misfiring on a layered ball to Justin Jefferson, throwing an interception on a tip ball to Harrison Smith. Commanded the huddle with confidence, but needs to improve touch on certain throws. Jeff Okudah running with the starters and nickel package is kind of an interesting update, appearing ahead of Mekhi Blackman on the depth chart. Justin Jefferson apparently exited practice early due to a minor leg tightness issue as a precaution. He downplayed it, saying, just taking precaution, just make sure I'm fully healthy and good to go. That's got to be terrifying for Vikings fans. Safety Josh Metellus did not practice. Left tackle Christian Darrisaw and right guard Will Fries participated in indie drills but were held out of team drills. And wide receiver Rondale Moore has no restrictions following his recovery. Justin Jefferson emphasized his mentorship of JJ McCarthy, aiming to build the rookie's confidence. He said, I'm trying to get him even more confident to give me those throws. You're not trying to build him up. You're trying to pad your stats, bro. Shut up. As for the Detroit Lions, they were on day 4 yesterday, ahead of everybody else so far. Still doing non-padded practices. Temperatures soared over 90 degrees. Chippy atmosphere. Altercation between Amon-Ra St. Brown and Brian Branch, as well as others involving offensive lineman Giovanni Manu and defensive lineman Broderick Martin, and running back Jabari Small and linebacker Anthony Pittman. So a bunch of fights broke out. Defense forced 3 turnovers for the first time in camp, aligning with DC Kelvin Shepard's push for more violent intent on the ball. Offensive line saw some adjustment. Tate Radledge shifting from center to right guard, veteran Graham Glasgow moving to center. First-team lineup included left tackle Dan Skipper, left guard Christian Mahogany. He's probably got that locked down. Graham Glasgow center, Tate Radledge right guard, and Penei Sewell right tackle. Again, that's going to be a major question mark for the Lions this season. Sounds like Terrion Arnold had another good day today, which is not great news. Don't need him taking a step. But that's about it as far as what's interesting to us. Let's see what we got going on with the Packers here, starting with Matt LaFleur's press conference. I guess the issue right now for Aaron Banks is a back issue, so that's a contagion right now in the Green Bay Packers locker room. Everything checked out all right, going to be day-to-day. Savion Williams apparently will not practice, which is frustrating. Declined to say why. That doesn't sound great. Why would you decline to say why? Come on, man, don't do this to me. I mean, if it's an injury, you would say it's an injury. What happened? Well, I'll try my best to not speculate, and we'll just see what's going on when we see what's going on. A little bit of Bears news on, again, I was telling you about yesterday, so this is live from today. Montez Sweat was harassing Caleb Williams off the right edge a couple times in 11-on-11. Would imagine a coaching point there is throwing the ball out of bounds. So first of all, how's that offensive line looking? Is it just so much better now? Everything's fixed? Number 2, you're telling me your quarterback doesn't know what to do in that situation? Is he, wait a minute, I know this one. Is he taking unnecessary sacks? Also got defense all over it in 7-on-7 red zone period. Back-to-back interceptions, Brisker and Edwards, to end that period. 2 drops early killed the vibe for the first-team offense. Oh, so you're blaming drops for the fact that Caleb threw back-to-back picks in red zone? It's going worse than I could have ever imagined. Oh, jeezy crazy. All right. Matt LaFleur says he doesn't see the Packers' continuity as an advantage in an NFC North that had a lot of changes this offseason. Last year, you're speaking about the division. It wasn't good enough. There's a lot of room for growth. Okay. Zach Cruz says, anytime the Packers are asked about left tackle Rasheed Walker, the answer is some version of he's capable but needs to be more consistent. It's interesting. Packers Board of Directors honored Mark and Lori Murphy by making a donation of $124,575. I thought you were going with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 there. $124,575 to a local nonprofit. I was going to say, that's weird. Journey to Adult Success, for which Lori Murphy was one of a handful of founders a little over a decade ago. Zach Pearson for the Bears starts off been an ugly day for first team in drills. Jordy Nelson and his family are at camp today. Apparently there were rumors floating around that Jordy Nelson is coming back as a wide receivers coach. I have no reason to believe that that is correct. I think it's just fake Facebook news. So if you happen to see that floating around, to my knowledge, that is not correct. Very, very packed day at Packers training camp because today is the shareholder meeting day. It's also McManus' 34th birthday, apparently. All right, here we go. We got some PackersGames.com questions being answered here. Let me pull that up. First offensive line for the day. No Elton Jenkins, no Aaron Banks. The line is Rasheed Walker at left tackle, Jordan Morgan left guard, Sean Ryan at center, Jacob Monk right guard, Zach Tom right tackle. I don't love that Belton still has no place on this offensive line with 2 people out and one of our guards kicking into center. This feels very reminiscent of what happened with Jordan Morgan, where it's like, why is Morgan not where he should be? And also kind of similar to Sean Ryan when we drafted him, where that guy wasn't even like with the third string. Like, what the heck is going on here? Maybe they just bring the offensive lineman along slow. I don't know. Also, apparently Shaka Smart is at Packers training camp today. I had to look up who that was. That is apparently the head men's basketball coach at Marquette University. I actually thought this was Jeff Hafley and somebody was making a joke. I'm like, I don't know, I don't get the joke, but no, that's actually a guy by the name of Shaka Smart. Kyle Malzahn says, Josh Jacobs has been coaching up and talking to Marshawn Lloyd for the last 5 minutes or so on the side. Good leadership. Jacobs, we haven't done a lot of any of the locker room interviews so far. We might go back and scrape those up tomorrow because I don't think there's any training camp stuff. But Josh Jacobs has been, he seems really excited about Marshawn Lloyd. He seems to really like Marshawn Lloyd and been heaping some praise on him. So I'm pretty excited for that relationship to blossom. I hate to say, oh, good, because it's absolutely not good, but I was very concerned about what that refusing to comment thing was. Apparently, according to Ryan Wood, Savion Williams has a concussion and is not practicing. Again, that's not good, and I don't like that he seems to consistently be out with certain... Maybe this is a continuing issue with the red jersey thing. I don't know. I'm just glad there isn't some big problem. I was worried there's a suspension coming or something happened. Refusing to comment is freaking weird. You know what's funny? I think there's actually like an old man football player walk. I'm seeing Jordy Nelson walk on the sideline of the Packers practice. You know who he looks exactly like walking? Aaron Rodgers. He walks like Aaron Rodgers. It's a very specific way that they walk, and it's weird. All right, practice camp number 3, not practicing. Aaron Banks, back issue. Savion Williams, concussion. Quay, ankle. Watson, knee. Colin Oliver, hamstring. Amar Johnson, hamstring. John Williams, back. Elton Jenkins, back. Tell you what, let's take our first break because we're about to start diving into this thing. They're still doing some individual nonsense, but we'll take a break, and we'll be right back. Apparently, Justin Pugh is retiring from the NFL. He just announced. But all right, we got some team stuff going on here. The starters, you got Love, Jacobs. You got Walker, Morgan, Ryan, Monk, and Tom. So that stays the same. They got 2 tight ends out in Kraft and Musgrave. The 2 wide receivers are Wicks and Dobbs. Again, chill out. Defense, I think, is pretty standard across the board here for what it has been. Gary, Wyatt, Clark, Lucas Van Ness. Linebackers are Cooper, McDuffie, and Simmons remains that 3 right now. Hobbs and Nixon are the 2 corners, and then Williams and McKinney are the safeties. Seen a lot of people freak out about Monk at guard and Ryan at center. They've done this several times. This is not a new thing. First play, Love to Wicks off play action for a nice pickup. Another clean catch from 13. Musgrave did a nice job helping on Gary. Golden end around, nothing doing. Oh, boy. Jeez. I can just feel... I almost regret even reading that note. Somebody out there just broke something. Zach Tom with a false start. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Signs his contract. Now he gets a false start. That's how it starts, man. Next thing you know, career-ending back injury. Jacobs for a couple. Wyatt and Gary converge. Apparently, Anthony Belton came in to replace Zach Tom on that rep. Is he our backup right tackle right now? Cheers from Nitschke crowd, and as Dobbs skies for a downfield 15-inch yard catch from Love to wrap up first 4 number 1 plays. Love with a beautiful ball to Romeo. Love with a perfect touch pass over Cooper's fingertips. Love dealing early, finds Dobbs over the middle, fake end around to Golden, play action. Dobbs settles in a zone, slightly high throw, but Dobbs brings it in easily for about 16. Willis with a keeper on a read option, and a fantastic job by Chris Brooks getting out of the block to make a big gain. Brooks does everything well. Tell you what, I am excited for the preseason to see Malik Willis take off on somebody. Apparently somewhere snuck in there was Matthew Golden making a catch off a motion. Brenton Cox all over play action fake. Willis gets it off to Golden for a few. There it is. Wilson for a few up the middle off a can call from Clifford after seeing Bullard creeping up. White slips down on a toss play after picking up a couple. Defense was swarming. Second cycle with the ones is Monk at center, Ryan back at right guard, Tom at right tackle. Dobbs with a sliding catch against Keyshawn Nixon. Nice throw by Love. I think that's only the second completion that Nixon has allowed over the first few days. Another end around to Golden. This one gets a bit more. Solid blocking downfield. Speed is real. I love that. Please keep giving me that. Josh Jacobs with a nice 7-yard run off left tackle, but he fumbles. I don't need that in my life. Romeo Dobbs recovers. Attaboy. Next rep, Dobbs makes a sliding catch for 19 yards. Good throw from Jordan Love against the Keyshawn Nixon coverage. I think if there's, whenever there's no football, you start speculating, you start getting into some wild, crazy, let's leave everything on the table. Anything's possible. When football gets back together and you see once again how pivotal Romeo Dobbs is to the offense and how much of a great relationship Jordan Love and Romeo Dobbs have. Again, anything is possible, but, Romeo is the dude. We want Golden to step up. We want Tucker Kraft to be a thing. But if there's a guy that is Jordan Love's guy, it's Romeo Dobbs. It just always feels like it kind of always has been. Wicks has got a place, and Reed has got a place. All these guys have had their place, and they've had their moments, but especially in practice and whatnot, if there's ever a guy that Jordan seems to, when the game's on the line to lean on, it's always Romeo. Eversol says, another Golden end around, big gain. So I don't know if that's the same as the other one that reported slightly more, or if that's the third end around of the day. Kyle Malzahn says, a lot of motion plays involving Matthew Golden today at Packers training camp with the ones. So that's exciting stuff. Ryan Wood says, Matthew Golden doing a lot of pre-snap motion today. First jet sweep got stuff for 2. He just broke his second down the left sideline, a gain of at least 20, if not a touchdown. The heck was he talking about? A bit more. Maybe, I think it was Herman. Maybe he thought somebody got him down. Spofford says, first offense's play-action game is on point for the Packers. Another Love completion to Dobbs, then an end around with Golden off a middle fake. Willis rifles an out route to Hardman, which Kalen King dives for, but it zips right past his fingertips to Hardman for a nice pickup. Willis's arm is legit. Again, something about that guy's passes, man, are just... They're like darts, but man, they can be accurate. Willis to Hicks on a comeback for about 7. Willis to Hicks deep right side, but Valentine fights him off. Hicks slips and Valentine gets the pick, his second of camp. Ayo! So, no change in my vote for Valentine being a starting corner, by the way, if anybody was wondering. So that just answered 2 questions over on Packers games. Who will be the next to record an interception, and will there be an interception in day 3? Ryan Wood says, Carrington Valentine, who forced turnovers in 4 straight games late last season, now has 2 interceptions through 3 days of camp. Just picked a deep Malik Willis pass intended for Julian Hicks. McManus right down Broadway from 51, right hash. Attaboy. What is he, 7 for 7 now, unless I missed one? Xavier McKinney lunges to break up a 2nd and 4 pass for Kraft in 2 minutes. Big B says McKinney with a beautiful pass breakup on Jordan Love throw intending for Kraft in the flat. Beautiful stuff. Herman says apparently that Willis drive was 2 minutes, so he kind of missed the play-by-play, but we got it anyways. One's up next, 1:20 left, 1st and 10, tie game, ball on their own 35. Love to Dobbs for a few, clock ticks. Love outside to Kraft, but McKinney jumps it and breaks it up, 3rd and 5 upcoming. Lucas Van Ness with a coverage sack on Love. 10 had nowhere to go, defense wins. 3 and out for the offense. Another positive note for Lucas Van Ness, by the way. I know it's a coverage sack, but still, somebody had to get there, and guess who it was? Now McManus good from 51 left hash, so 2 51-yarders in a row, right hash and left hash, gives him another 2. That should be 8-0 so far for McManus in camp. Apparently McKinney also got the stop on that first pass to Romeo Dobbs, so he comes up with a stop and then gets the pass breakup leading to 3rd down, which ended in a coverage sack. So McKinney still doing good things out there. Quay Walker here doing rehab work off on the side in this little video here. He should be back relatively soon, I hope. He got confirmation from Ryan Wood that is 8 for 8 in camp so far, picking up where he left off last season. Can make it 9 for 9 in camp for Brandon McManus. Just split the uprights from 33 left. Now we got the threes going through 2 minutes. Same scenario. Clifford at quarterback. So remember, yesterday it was not Clifford as the 3, so that is an official competition going on right now. Clifford to Shepard for a few, out of bounds. Shepard with a sick double move on Micah Robinson, who bit hard, and Shep was going to be wide open deep. Robinson wisely holds him to make sure it wouldn't be completed. Pass interference, 1st down. Clifford to Johnson for a few, clock ticks. Clifford to Sam Brown for a few, clock ticks. Clifford to Hicks on a slant, 1st down, timeout, ball on the 15-yard line. Good pressure by the defense. Clifford wisely throws the ball away. Clifford with a dime to Sims in the back corner of the end zone. Would have been a touchdown, but Sims couldn't get his feet in, incomplete. Clifford well behind Hicks in the red zone. Had him but missed him. Ball tipped by the DB but falls incomplete. Field goal unit on. McManus connects for the win for Sean Clifford-led number 3 offense. Wes Hodkowitz says Keyshawn Nixon has had a strong start to camp. Dobbs gets a step down the sideline, but 25 closes to break it up. Remember, we just heard earlier he gave up a reception, and somebody said that's maybe the 2nd reception he's given up all of camp. He's been locking everybody down. Now we get the next time we hear from him is another pass breakup. All right, here's Herman reporting on ones getting another chance at 2 minutes. Run to Brooks, doesn't go for much, clock ticks. Love to Brooks for a few, out of bounds, 3rd and 6 upcoming. Love to Kraft for about 4. Somehow they gave him the 1st down. It looks well short. Give him out of bounds 2. Love to Wilson on a check down for about 5, clock ticks, timeout. 35 seconds left, 2nd and 5, ball at midfield. Dobbs beats Nixon off the line. Love goes deep, had him, but Love underthrew it by at least a yard or 2. Nixon breaks it up easily. Love atones. Wicks with a deep post wide open. Loves hits him in stride. About a 50-yard bomb for the touchdown. Glorious. Not the first time we've heard that either. Had some of those in OTA, just these massive bombs for a touchdown. Wes Hodkowitz says Packers re-rack the number 1 2-minute. Love hits Wicks on a deep crosser for a 49-yard touchdown. Kyle Malzahn says to end the second 2-minute drill, Jordan Love avoids pressure, steps up in the pocket, connects with Wicks for a 49-yard touchdown perfectly in stride. And then we get McManus good from 56 yards out. My absolute goodness. He is officially 10 for 10, so that, going back to PackersGames.com, the poll question, how many does he hit before he misses? The first option was less than 10. We've already crossed that mark. The next is 10 to 15, and then more than 15. We'll see if he can get there. Herman says, Wicks looks fantastic, getting open per usual, catching everything his way. No, I don't believe in jinxes, and yes, I still have all my Wicks stock. That is, by the way, a great sign that I do kind of believe in jinxes, but it's hard to have a podcast and believe in jinxes because you have to say things. But it is great news that the drops have so far not really materialized in any kind of a way for Dontayvion Wicks. I feel like he had one yesterday, maybe, but even at that, really not been a problem. Looks like things are slowing down, winding down. A little bit hasn't been news in a little bit. I don't know if they got another segment coming up or what, but why don't we take a break right here, and then we'll wrap this thing up. We'll be right back. Well, McManus just made 3 more, 40, 42, and 44, bringing him to 13-0 through camp so far. See if you can make 3 more. We can close that out. Andy Herman says, I may have jinxed him. Love to Wicks over the middle. Gets to his hands, but Wicks can't hang on. To be fair, there was super tight coverage by Hobbs, and it may or may not have been early. He adds, Lucas Van Ness also would have had a sack on this play. Great rush against Ryan. With Lucas Van Ness again. Nate Hobbs just flying around making plays like crazy out here this week. Another pass breakup on Dontayvion Wicks, so Malzahn says it was a pass breakup. Maybe a little more contact than coaches may like on day 3, but nonetheless, pass breakup. Guess Nate Hobbs drilled Dontayvion Wicks to the ground on an in-cut route over the middle, forces a Jordan Love incompletion, but also taking a talking to from Matt LaFleur. Looks like Wicks got up okay, but slowly. Got Eversole running through the sequence here. Jacobs short run, play action, Love over the middle to Wicks, broken up by Hobbs. May have been early, may have also gone a little too hard. Wicks slow to get up. Jacobs broke a big run. Love pressured incomplete. Brooks dropped a check down. Quick hitter to Romeo Doubs. Here we go. Brandon McManus is now 15 of 15 during 2 open practices and 9 of 9 today on his 34th birthday. Makes him good from 33, 33, 38, 40, 41, 41, 43, 44, 46, 46, 46, 48, 51, 51, and 56. He added a 46-yarder from the left hash and a 48-yarder from the left hash to go 15 of 15. Javon Bullard punches the ball loose against Tucker Kraft. Been a couple good positive notes about Bullard so far, so I'll take that. Wes Hodkowitz says Bullard, who's been in the nickel with the ones, punches the ball out from Kraft after an underneath completion in team. Another note says Tucker Kraft catches an 8-yard leak from Jordan Love, but Javon Bullard punches it out from behind. McKinney scoops it and goes the other way. Second fumble for Packers offense today. Josh Jacobs the first for a loss. Kyle Malzahn says Carrington Valentine having a fantastic start to camp so far. Hodkowitz says Valentine breaks up a pass for Golden from Willis on a stop route, and he's letting the offense hear about it. Herman says Tucker Kraft put the ball on the ground in team. He would have been down, but it doesn't matter. They play through the whistle and have defenders keep attacking the ball. Still a knockout for the defense. Bullard with the knockout. Valentine with the sticky coverage on Golden. Wicks fires, and Valentine almost comes up with his 3rd pick in camp. Jonathan Baldwin with his first really nice play of camp. Baldwin ranges from center and breaks perfectly on the ball from Clifford over the middle to break it up. Baldwin is still listed as cornerback on the roster, but he's been all safety since minicamp. Morgan now taking some reps at left tackle with Glover back at right guard. Good rush from Barron Sorrell on the weak side, and defensive front nearly forces a Willis interception. Anderson couldn't bring it in. Got the rookie Barron Sorrell with a couple good notes. Zane Anderson drops a pick from Willis, probably an ill-advised throw. The play earlier, Trey Hill dribbled a snap back to Willis, which killed the play. Herring with a nice pass breakup on Sam Brown on a throw from Elgersma. Pass defense was really impressive today outside the bomb to Wicks. That does it for practice. Practice ends with a Tyron Herring pass breakup. Got a video. Mark Murphy walks off the practice field for the last time as Packers president. His 17-year tenure officially ends later today. Packers defense wins a second straight day, and Xavier McKinney, who had one heck of a practice, counts out the push-ups for the defense, or for the offense, excuse me. Mark Murphy's out meeting the people, signing some autographs. All right, it is now a few hours later. First of all, Dontayvion Wicks on his injury stuff says he's feeling fine after taking the hit from Hobbs. Said it surprised him, considering teammates are told to keep each other off the ground, but no complaints. On last season, he says, I know I can catch the ball. Everybody else does too. You just can't get caught up in the outside noise. Wicks said he lost confidence in his hands after shaky opener in Brazil last season, 3 drops versus the Eagles, but it turned around midway through the fall. His numbers show that. Now he feels back to himself, what he showed rookie season. And Shamar Stewart is a Bengal. There you go. Fully guaranteed 4-year contract. We knew that. Who caved, though? Stewart got improved payout language, can now get back on the field. Doesn't fully answer the question, but just curious. Just out of curiosity. I want to look at this Wicks thing real quick. I'm sure we have already. I just, I forget things pretty instantly. So he had 9 total drops. 4 came in the first 5 weeks. He had 2 drops against Detroit, 1 against Miami, 1 against New Orleans, and 1 against Philly. It doesn't ever feel as egregious when you actually see it like that. It seemed like he dropped all the time. The vast majority of games, he had no drops. But yeah, half of his drops came in the first 5 weeks. This is according to PFF. Somehow people have different drop numbers. I'm kind of surprised by that. But if we're generous and start at week 11, let's see something here. Second half of the season, Jaden Reed had the second worst drop rate. The 8th worst. Romeo Doubs was the 20th worst. Dontayvion Wicks ranked 35th, which still isn't the greatest. I don't know what you would call the baseline. I mean, they gave him a drop grade of like 61, so right on that okay line. And again, he was better than our 2 other top guys. In fact, actually, Christian Watson, I missed too. He ranked 12th. That's just crazy. Dontayvion Wicks ranked the 35th most drops as a percentage, and that was our best receiver. Our top 3 receivers were all top 20 I shouldn't say top 3 receivers, but we had 3 receivers in the top 20 as far as drop rate in the second half of the season. Romeo Doubs, 11%, ranked 20th. Christian Watson, 13.3%, ranked 12th. Jaden Reed, 13.6%, ranked 8th. Lazard, number 1. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, ranked 4th. I mean, that's just freaking crazy, man. That is just crazy. So yeah, it did seem to improve. If you go from the other direction, though, he would have ranked, in other words, going from best to worst, he ranked 67th, so I don't know that it was necessarily good, but it was better, I guess. Shareholders meeting, got a round of applause. Mark Murphy coming out. Said my first shareholder meeting was 2008. That was called the Summer of Favre. I don't know if you remember, but Brett Favre retired before that season and then ended up changing his mind. That was a trial by fire. Mark Murphy touting Packers' accomplishments. He also says goal is to win the Super Bowl, and then the end of last season was disappointing. GM Brian Gutekunst with Mark Murphy and Ed Policy at the annual shareholder meeting. Gutekunst said during Murphy's 17 years as president and CEO, he faced some of the team's most difficult situations with class, leadership, integrity, and dignity. He definitely has faced some stuff, and obviously some people are not on the side of the way the organization has handled things, but there's no question he has been through some serious, you look back over 17 years, man, there have been some rough, tough decisions. Mark Murphy says the thing that is dear to most people's heart, breaks mine a little bit. A great source of pride of mine is that we were never on Hard Knocks. Now, I don't think Ed Policy is going to be able to maintain that, although I'm sure it is a massive goal of his to get the Packers to avoid that. But like I said, with Hard Knocks now having 3 different things with all these different rules on when you have to comply and all that stuff, I'm very sorry to Policy as well as all the people that do not want the Packers on there. Which again, you're probably correct. I am being short-sighted and selfish as a fan that wants as much content as possible to be able to consume my Green Bay Packers. But I am sorry to say that that's very unlikely to be able to survive Policy's tenure. Mark Murphy says he anticipates many Packers games being played in Germany, Ireland, and or the UK over the next 5 to 10 years. I guess it's not surprising, but it is kind of jarring to hear him say that. It's pretty wild and crazy. And shortly after that, Mark Murphy says his goodbyes and turns the microphone over to Ed Policy, and that is that. It's a sad day. It's hopefully a great day as Ed Policy continues or builds on the legacy that's been built here. But Mark Murphy seemed like a good man, and I'm happy for him, happy for his family, looking forward to him being able to enjoy his retirement. I'm sure he's just going to be right up the road golfing. He's probably going to pop in all the time, just saying hi. So it'll be good. But it's sad, exciting, nervous all at the same time. I know, probably more of this rests on the GM, coach, players, all that kind of stuff. But it's certainly an important role, and you hope the Packers made a good decision here. They actually played a tribute video to Mark Murphy, and Matt Schneidman got a video of him. He's not watching it. He's looking away. So I don't know if it was emotional or if he's just busy reading something else. I don't know what he's doing, but he is not looking at it. I'm not doing that. There is a tweet here that says, breaking: Venmo and PayPal users can now send money directly to the U.S. Treasury in an effort to help chip away at the $36.7 trillion national debt. Jacob Morley says, is the U.S. government trying to model itself after the Green Bay Packers? Going to buy ownership stock in the United States of America. And hilariously, nobody felt the need to post a single clip of the new president at Policy saying anything. Not a video, not a quote. Must have been not interesting at all. So, anyways, that's about it. There's been a couple developments that have come in. We can look at this more tomorrow, but just to give you an update on it, Packers were awarded running back Israel Abanikanda off waivers from the 49ers per a league source. We've got Packers hosted Zy Alexander for a visit. I know Zy Alexander was a big name for a while. We kind of joked a lot about, it'd be crazy if we had Jai Alexander and Zy Alexander on the same team. But so he was here for a visit, as well as the Packers worked out Braylon Sanders. So little bit of news. But all right, I'm going to leave it at that. You guys have a good rest of your day. I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.